We are live this Friday, May 22nd, 2009. It's the Info Warrior. 3 full hours of news and calls, 866-582-9933. Want to kick it off with families of July 7th bombing victims fear they may never learn the truth. This is out of the Telegraph. And, folks, this is just like the 9/11 cover-up. It took a few years to get the commission set up. They didn't want to do it at first, and then the whitewash through that lasted, I think, 12 to 18 months, and then they put out a report. Well, this one, they're saying that they may not even do a truth commission. The bereaved families of victims of the July 7th bombings have expressed outrage after being told an inquest into the deaths of their loved ones may not be necessary or could be replaced by a secret inquiry. And you could see that this was definitely about to happen because earlier in the week we reported that some of the police officers that were involved in the investigation, the initial investigation, were arrested on charges that they somehow misappropriated funds during the investigation. My money's on that they knew too much. They were going to give contradictory statements. They threatened these guys. They didn't, cow down to the threats, and now they're in jail. Let's read more. Andrew Scott Reed, the inner London coroner, has written to relatives of the 52 people who died in the bomb blast nearly 4 years ago, saying that a full inquest may not be required because a verdict of unlawful killing is inevitable. In the 5-page letter, Mr. Scott Reed makes clear that the inquests, which were adjourned in the aftermath of the killings, could simply be reopened and cause of death given. He says a decision to appoint a High Court judge to preside over the inquest has already been taken by Jack Straw, the Justice Secretary, but a suitable candidate has not yet been found, and realistically, the inquest may not go ahead for another year. Mr. Straw dropped measures to hold inquests in secret from a government bill last week, but he added the ministerial statement that there was where it was not possible to proceed with an inquest under the current arrangements. See, they're trying to cover up the entire thing. I mean, give me a break. First of all, it's going to be awfully tough to cover up the fact that you're running a drill through Visor Consultants of blowing up the same 3 train stations at the same exact time. Very difficult. It's going to be difficult to cover up the fact that you said these associates that were involved with the 7/7 bombings, people who didn't commit suicide, you couldn't even convict them in a court of law. And, kind of a nexus point here, we talked about it yesterday, but these 4 men in New York, just like was predicted by Prison Planet, and really given away in the New York Daily News article yesterday, or the New York Times article, I'm not sure which one it was, that these guys were half retarded. They were petty criminals. They had they couldn't get guns. They had no idea to make weapons. They had no connections to any other terrorist organizations. They were recruited by the FBI. The FBI informants, they were the ones that were provocatoring this. And, it'll be 2 or 3 years before we see a trial. And when we do see a trial, we'll see how many they can convict. They couldn't convict those half-retarded people down in Florida, could they? Of course, those guys did not plant the fake bombs. They just got, I think it was fertilizer and some other quote-unquote bomb-making material sent to them. So, I really do hope one day we can find out the truth behind 9/11, 7/7. And on the 9/11 front, Cheney reaffirmed yesterday during his speech that he indeed was in his bunker about an hour before the Pentagon attack. Moments later, in the PEOC, that's the Presidential Emergency Operating Center, with Norman Mineta the entire time. And Mineta says that he gave some kind of an order and knew the Pentagon was going to be hit. But you see, the 9/11 Commission doesn't want you to know about it. They whitewash it. No, it wasn't there till 9:52. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, 866-582-9933. Back after this.
The good old folks at New Silver Solution. And the website is supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. This is something that kills bacteria, viruses, you name it, well documented. They've got it down to a super small nano-sized particle. Supernaturalsilver.com. Check them out at InfoWars.com. Supernaturalsilver.com.
Sometimes, I said sometimes, I go crazy, like I'm crazy. It takes patience.
alternatives, Mr. Scott Reed said, if the judge decides that there is sufficient cause to resume the inquest, he or she will decide the scope of the inquest. If the decision is made that there is a sufficient cause to resume the inquest, then the inquest may be limited in scope to determining the cause of death and the circumstances in which each cause of death arose. So in other words, they'll say, well, they died from an explosion after their heart stopped, and that'll be good enough. Not who caused the explosion or why or what's really going on. Let's see. He said the judge may allow a wider investigation into whether the state failed to protect the lives of the victims in the style of the Diana inquest, another cover-up. But Graham Fox, whose son David was killed in the blasts, said he has made it clear that the judge is no longer obligated to take notice of our views, and that it was and that's what upset him. Yeah, basically it's a big cover-up. Not a big shock, but it is a big old cover-up. And, you had to know it was coming because it's that same international crime cartel that carried out 9/11, that carried out 7/7, that carried out Waco, that carried out, let's be honest, these attacks in Mumbai, the Madrid bombings. You know, it sucks that these are the guys that are behind it, but it's the reality. It's where the evidence lies. Look into it. Some other news I've got in front of me. The Pope is getting hip and with it, Miley Cyrus style. No, he's not talking about the cyberbullying act. He's on Facebook. He's trying to woo the young believers, a la Jonas Brothers, I think. I mean, this is it. Facebook with the Pope, with Ratzinger. Could there be a scarier person on Facebook? I'm sure there could maybe be some creepier dudes, but he is really, I mean, he looks like the emperor. Am I the only one who sees that? Is there anyone else out there? I mean, look at the picture they're using, too. Him out through the globe. Instead of, like, the black robe, it's the white robe, and he's got the little hat thing going on. You won't get an email saying Pope Benedict added you as a friend, and you can't poke him or write on his wall, but the Vatican is still keen to use the networking site Facebook to woo young people back to the church. A new Vatican website, www.pope2u.net. Pope2u. Jaren's like running into the back right now to go over there. I wonder, really, Jaren? I didn't know you were that religious. Has gone live, offering the application called The Pope Meets You on Facebook, and another allowing the faithful to see the Pope's speeches and messages on their iPhones or iPods. Vatican 2.0. Here we go. The Vatican's World Communications Day this Sunday is devoted to communicating the gospel with new techniques. We recognize that the church does not communicate ceases to be a church, said Monsignor Paul Tai, Secretary of the Vatican's Social Communications Department. Many young people today are not turning the traditional media like newspapers and magazines anymore for information and entertainment. It is the cyber age, and the Pope is hopping on the bandwagon, surfing the web. Here we go, Pope style. Oh, boy. Recession turns malls into ghost towns. Well, you had to see this one coming. Without jobs and money and homes, and you're losing your car and your pensions, it's going to be tough to stay at the shop and stop. Malls, those ubiquitous shopping meccas that sprang up in the 1950s, are dwindling in number. Many struggling properties reduced to largely vacant shells. On the low-income east side of Charlotte, North Carolina, the 1.1 million square foot Eastland Mall recently lost a slew of key tenants, including a Dillard's and next month a Sears. Sales per square foot at the venue fell to $210 in 2008 from $288 in 2001. The Metcalf South Shopping Center in Overland Park, Kansas, is languishing after plans to redevelop it in an open-air shopping district fizzled. And a lot of these are probably going to shut down when they have to go green, too, just like all those other things. I mean, folks, the malls are just going to be one of the first things to go. Mark my words. It kind of sucks, though. Hey, whatever. No one wanted to listen. No one wanted to say, hey, they're wrecking the economy. No, it wasn't by design. No one wanted to stand up against the bailout. They all wanted to applaud Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity when it was tax day. Makes me sick.